Have you ever felt like you're moving through life in a fog? As if each day passes by on autopilot while a part of you watches from a distance, wondering when you will truly wake up. This feeling isn't just in your head. It's the faint awareness that something is deeply wrong with the world around you.
You go through your routine, doing all the things society promised would make you happy. You work, you consume, you distract yourself with screens and noise. On the surface, everything seems fine. But deep inside, there's a quiet discomfort you cannot shake, a sense that you have been living in a trance. For so long, you followed the script that was handed to you. Be cheerful, fit in, don't ask questions. These were the unspoken rules. Everyone else seemed content with shallow conversations and endless entertainment. So you smiled and played along, even as an unseen weight pressed on your chest. Late at night, when the world falls silent, you can hear it more clearly. That subtle ache in your soul. It's the feeling of emptiness in the middle of all this supposed enjoyment. After the show ends and the phone is put down, you stare at the ceiling in the darkness. You wonder why none of it truly satisfies you. In those moments, uncomfortable questions whisper in your mind. Why does genuine joy feel so rare? Why do you feel alone even when you're connected to everyone all the time? The questions fade by morning, drowned out by the return of noise, but they leave behind a lingering unrest. Day by day, you've been living under a kind of hypnosis. Not the dramatic kind with swinging pendulums, but a modern trance engineered by constant distractions. Every advertisement, every viral video, every trending topic pulls your attention in 100 directions. They keep your mind so busy, you barely have time to think your own thoughts. Modern society has perfected this art of keeping you numb. It floods your senses with stimulation and trivial news, so you won't notice the cage you're in. It's a comfortable cage. Soft pillows of entertainment, warm blankets of convenience. But a cage is still a cage, and somewhere in the back of your mind, you know it. You were taught from a young age not to question this. School taught you to memorize answers, not to ask profound questions. Social media taught you to seek approval, not to seek truth. Every step of the way, you were guided to follow, to obey, to stay asleep. Of course, none of this was ever said to you directly. No one had to command you to stop thinking. Instead, they made thinking irrelevant to your daily life. They gave you every comfort so that you would never feel the need to look beyond them. Yet despite all of this, the discomfort grew. Perhaps you can't pinpoint when it started. Maybe it was always there, a small voice asking if there's more to life than this. Over time, that voice has grown louder, and ignoring it is no longer an option. Now that voice inside you refuses to be silenced. At last, you decide to face it. You turn off the endless noise for a moment and sit in the uneasy silence. Your heart starts to race, because you know this is the moment you must confront the truth you've been avoiding. In that silence, reality starts to seep in. At first, it's just a trickle, an unsettling thought here, a disturbing question there. Without the usual distractions, you begin to see how much of your life has been guided by forces outside of you. It's as if a veil is slowly lifting, and what lies behind it makes you uneasy. You realize that your opinions, your desires, even your fears have been carefully groomed. The shows you watched, the news you followed, the trends you chased, they weren't really chosen by you. They were fed to you to keep you complacent. This realization hits hard, and you feel a surge of anger and betrayal. Anger, first at the invisible architects of this system, and then at yourself. How could you not have seen it sooner? It's obvious now that so much was an illusion, a carefully constructed dream meant to keep you docile. You feel your cheeks flush with shame for the years you spent asleep and rage at those who designed the lie. You might try to deny it at first. A part of you wishes it wasn't true, that you could go back to being comfortably numb. It would be easier to dismiss these thoughts, to call yourself crazy and rejoin the mindless scrolling. But deep down, you know you've crossed a line, and there is no unseeing what you've seen. As you push past denial, the scope of this deception becomes clearer. You start noticing how truth is treated in this world. Books that make people think are mocked or banned. Voices that question the status quo are shouted down or quietly erased. It dawns on you that ignorance here isn't just an accident. It's engineered. This is where the world begins to push back against you. When you gently question the script, you meet resistance. Maybe you bring up a controversial idea to friends or online, and the reaction is swift and harsh. Unspoken or not, the message is clear. Stop thinking and fall back in line. People you know, good people, seem almost afraid when you challenge the familiar comforts. They laugh nervously, change the subject, or even scold you for being negative or too serious. Their eyes glaze over the moment you dig deeper. It's like you're speaking a language they don't want to understand, because it threatens their own trance. You realize that most people don't want to wake up. They have invested so much in the lie that the truth would terrify them. They cling to their distractions like security blankets. And if you try to pull those blankets away, they will defend them and resent you for it. By now, you have seen enough to know that your discomfort was never baseless. The things that unsettled you, the emptiness of shallow entertainment, the gagging of critical voices, the way everyone marches to the same beat, it all makes sense now. You see how each piece fits into a grand machine built to keep people unthinking and obedient. The more clearly you see it, the more pain it brings. It is painful to watch how willingly you once participated in your own oppression. It hurts to remember how often you smiled at lies and ignored your own doubts. Every memory of compliance now stings like a betrayal of yourself. And it's not just your past, it's everywhere you look. You notice that honest discussions are rare, replaced by echo chambers of agreeable opinions. You see news reports that leave out crucial facts, entertainment that glorifies ignorance, leaders who speak in slogans instead of substance. All around you, the truth is being smothered, and people cheer for the smothering as though it were progress. You might feel a desperate urge to do something about it, to shout from the rooftops that everyone has been lied to grab people by the shoulders and urge them to see what you see. But you've also learned by now how deep the hypnosis runs and how violently the sleeping can react when shaken awake. The confrontation is not just with society, but with yourself. What will you do with this knowledge? The easy path would be to pretend you never saw the truth, to slip back into the pleasant dream and forget. Part of you aches for that comfort, even now. But another part of you, the awakening mind, refuses. You stand at a crossroads. On one side lies the familiar world of comforting lies, where you fit in and don't have to think too hard. On the other side lies the unknown, the world as it really is, stripped of its sugarcoating. To choose the truth is to accept a burden and a freedom that will change everything. And you know in your heart there is no real choice at all, because once the truth has taken root in you, there is no going back. Stepping out of that comfortable lie is like stepping into blinding light. You squint. It hurts to see what was hidden. The world you knew fades like a dream, and the reality before you is stark and sobering. You realize just how much darkness was lurking behind the pleasant facade. The clarity you gain is harsh. You see the emptiness in places you once found pleasure. The TV shows that once made you laugh now feel hollow and forced. The social media posts you chased for validation now reveal themselves as desperate cries into a void. All the little distractions that filled your days stand exposed as meaningless. There is grief in this clarity. You mourn the time you lost and the sincerity you sacrificed at the altar of conformity. You grieve for the version of you that lived in ignorance and for relationships built on shallow ground. It's as if you've lost a friend. That comforting illusion was a part of you, and letting it die is painful. The loneliness hits you next. Awakening can be a solitary journey. You look around and hardly recognize the world that everyone else is content with. They continue gossiping about trivialities, posting their curated lives, never acknowledging the emptiness underneath. You feel like a stranger among people you once called friends. Every conversation feels different now. When people talk about the latest celebrity scandal or the newest gadget, you see it for what it is: a distraction, a sedative for the masses. You try to talk about what matters, about meaning, about truth, and you meet blank stares. It's as though you speak a forbidden language. With open eyes, you also become aware of how closely you are watched. The surveillance isn't obvious like a camera pointed at you. It's woven into your devices, your online life, the fine print of every app you use. Every search, every click is monitored, each dissenting thought quietly noted. You understand now that this system feeds on your data to better keep you under its spell. In this new awareness, you see modern firemen at work, not with hoses of kerosene, but with algorithms and propaganda. When a dangerous idea sparks online, they flood it with noise or douse it with censorship. Controversial books and thinkers are not burned in the streets, but they are buried under a mountain of distraction or branded as dangerous without a flame ever touched. The effect is the same. The fire of truth is contained, prevented from spreading. You begin to recall stories and warnings you once overlooked. You remember a book where firemen burned books to keep society happy and docile. And suddenly, it doesn't feel like fiction anymore. In Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, people were promised they could be happy all the time. Fahrenheit 451, Wikiquote, http and misdaj and wikiquote.org, wiki Fahrenheit 451 new text, all percent 20 confessions, send 2 priests, or send 20 trade percent 20 journals, if they just stuck to mindless entertainment and avoided conflicting ideas. Now, looking at the world, you see chilling parallels everywhere. It strikes you that this dystopia wasn't forced on us entirely by tyrants. We welcomed it. As one character in that story observed, it didn't come from dictators at first. Technology and the desire for comfort did the job. Fahrenheit 451, Wikiquote, https and at wikiquote.org, wiki Fahrenheit 451 text, all percent 20 confessions, set 2 C percent 2, or percent 20 trade percent 20 journals. People chose easy pleasure over difficult truth, bit by bit. In our world too, we collectively opted for convenience and positivity, and in doing so, we cast away depth, nuance, and authenticity. With painful clarity, you understand how humanity arrived here. We were afraid of being uncomfortable, afraid of being offended, afraid of feeling inferior or uncertain. So we leveled every difference and silenced every debate to protect feelings and avoid pain. We called it progress. But in truth, it was surrender. A surrender of our minds and freedom. This realization weighs heavy on you. The truth is no longer just about your personal life. It's about the entire human story that you are a part of. You see how fear and complacency have chained not just you, but everyone around you. And now that you see the chains, you feel the burden of knowledge. Ignorance might have been a cage, but it was a light one. Knowledge is a weight you must now carry. There are moments when you wonder if it's too much. If maybe, just maybe, it would be easier to slip back into not knowing. The world you see with clear eyes is painful, full of injustice, lies, and sorrow that you were blind to before. It overwhelms you at times, driving you to your knees with the enormity of it all. But with that pain also comes a strange, new strength. The weight of truth has made you stronger in ways you didn't expect. You find that you can endure the discomfort because at least it's real. Your anger becomes resolve. Your grief becomes a determination to never again be easily deceived. The very fact that it hurts means your mind is alive and unchained. Slowly, the initial despair starts to ebb, making room for a deeper understanding. Yes, the world is flawed and people remain asleep. But now you can see the whole picture, the good and the bad. In this expanded awareness, there is a quiet glimmer of purpose. You realize that seeing the truth, as painful as it is, also means you have a chance to do something meaningful with it. This is where hope enters. Not a naive hope, but a hard-earned, sober hope. It's the faint light on the horizon after a long, dark night. You understand now that you carry something precious, the spark of awareness that society has tried to extinguish. It's small, but it's real, and as long as it lives in you, there is a possibility of igniting it in others, or at least keeping it alive through the darkness. Hope, in this context, is not a promise that everything will be okay. It is the conviction that waking up was worth it, that a life in truth is worth living even if the truth hurts. With that hope comes responsibility. Now that you see clearly, you cannot in good conscience turn away. You feel a duty to protect this small flame of awareness, to keep it alive in a world determined to snuff it out. This sense of responsibility changes you. You begin to live more deliberately. You seek out real knowledge instead of clickbait. You listen more closely to those rare voices who still speak truth, even when it's unpopular. You take it upon yourself to think critically, to question, to verify. No longer accepting every spoon-fed answer, you also start to act differently, guided by your own mind rather than the collective script. Maybe you spend more time reading books that challenge you, or you find yourself writing down your own thoughts in a journal, sorting through what is real and what is not. You become more mindful of how you spend your attention, treating it as a valuable treasure rather than letting others steal it away. Quietly, without fanfare, you are breaking free. You may still appear to play the game of modern life, going to work, interacting online. But inside, you are no longer a pawn. You are an independent thinker in a world that fears independent thinkers. And that inner freedom is something no amount of propaganda or pressure can take from you unless you surrender it. The journey has forged you into a guardian of truth in your own small way. In a society that buries its truths, you have become a keeper of those truths. You carry knowledge the way others carry secrets, carefully and reverently. Think of those who, in times of tyranny, memorized forbidden books to preserve wisdom. You too carry a flame of insight that must not be allowed to die. This responsibility can be heavy, but it's also deeply meaningful. Every day you remain awake is a victory against the creeping darkness of ignorance. Every time you choose to question rather than accept, you keep the spirit of human curiosity alive. You may not be able to change the whole world at once, but you have changed your world, your own mind. And that is the starting point of all change. You may find others like you, perhaps in unexpected places. People who quietly understand what has happened and who also carry that secret fire in their hearts. When you do, you'll realize you were never completely alone. Even scattered and few, awakened minds form an invisible fellowship across the world. Their presence is a reassurance that truth can survive, even if underground. Yet even if you remain solitary, you are at peace with your choice. You would rather walk alone in reality than be lost in a crowd of illusions. There is a dignity in knowing who you are and what you stand for, even if the cost is to stand alone. Your soul, once restless and uneasy, now finds solace in honesty. The quiet discomfort that once gnawed at you has transformed into quiet strength. The confrontation that shook you awake has given you clarity and purpose. The pain that followed has carved out depth in you, making room for genuine hope. And the hope you hold is humble but resolute, that living in truth is its own kind of victory, come what may. Now, as you move forward, the world will continue to tempt you with its comforting lies. There will be days when you question why you chose this harder path. But then you will remember, to be awake is to be alive. No matter how seductive the dream, you know the truth of reality, and you will carry that truth with you, a light in the darkness, for as long as you live.